Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Henry with Black Market Comics. Let's see if we're going to get this ball rolling here. I'm doing a comic cleaning session, which means I'll be here dry cleaning books, using solution chemicals, a bunch of chemicals. I'll be cleaning a bunch of comic books, some of them signed, some extremely rare, some really good stuff coming up. If you need your books cleaned and pressed, let me know. Hit me up in the DMs. I've got a banner here with all of the useful information. Otherwise, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Let me just preview some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at here. All right. And there we go. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to ask. I will be doing this. I'm going to try to do it a lot more often, but we shall see. All right, let me see if I can get this. I don't think I can get the live. All right, screw it. Screw it. All right. If let me see here. Test. All right, cool. Anywho, let's go ahead and get started here. First off, what you're going to be seeing here is the cleaning and pressing of a signed book here. This particular copy of Sensational Spider-Man #1, signed by the legend Jerry Conway right before he passed. So we're going to take special care of this book. Take a look at the light reflection. I know there's a hot spot on there right now. I did that on purpose so that we can see all the dings, dents, all that kind of stuff. Here, let me see if I can... I think that's pretty good. All right. What I'm doing first here. 6 Spider-Man comic. Hell yeah. Yeah, and signed by Jerry Conway too. Rest in peace, bro. Yeah, I wouldn't call him bro in person. I would have called him sir. But you know what I mean. Anyway, hope everyone's having a good, what is today, Wednesday? I'll be going live with Zach tonight for a live comic sale. So if you need any of those books that you cleaned and pressed, whether it's from me or my buddy Zach, let us know. All right, let me point out a couple of things here. Let me grab one of my pointer swabs. And let's see about getting a closer, more centered look on this. All right. Okay, so what you're seeing here, signed book. It looks like this one was done in Sharpie, so we don't need to be too worried about that coming off of the acrylic markers, though. Something else. Right now, I think the main focus isn't going to be cleaning this book as much as it is getting the dings and dents out. So take a look at that reflection there. You see around the area where my thumb is at. We've got a lot of bends. There's one right there, right by that guy's hat. We also have a deep little divot. Let me know if you can see this. Hell yeah. Let me see if you can see the flaws on there. So I'm looking at like a divot right here. So something was impressed into the book without tearing the cover. So that's great. It doesn't look like it removed cover. We got a couple of creases though. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about creases. Here, what I mean by creases is that the paper is damaged and you've got color break on it. If it was just a bend, that would absolutely go away. Let's take a look at the back here too. Pretty clean back. The pressing is going to take care of this book mostly. So we're going to start off. This is just going to be a dry clean because of the signature. And I start off with the basic cotton round. There's nothing fancy about this cotton round, and there is nothing on it. It is just dry, and the point of this is to take off. I'm kind of dusting it, and I'm also a little buffering, doing a little bit of buffering on the gloss on the book. So this is going to take away things like hair, dust, food sometimes. I hope food and it's not something else. I'm also feeling through the book to make sure that there's nothing in the interior that's going to press through. Like right here, I feel something. Let's see what's behind that podium. It's not there behind it, so I think that is just the cover. Okay. But yes, I'm also feeling through the book because once we press something and let's say there's a dried booger in there, dried piece of food, that will punch through. All right, what I do to the front, I also have to do to the back. It's like an equation. It's like math. Now there is a little bit of grime on here, so it's not completely perfect. But you can see it. Oh, cool, cool, cool. It's not completely perfect, but it will be still a high grade. And plus, I mean, this book's got story to it with that signature on the cover. It's an experience having met that man. Very lucky to the owner of this book. Very lucky. All right, next I've got this stuff is called Malamine. You might know it as a magic eraser. It's the quickest and easiest way to remove grime that's stuck on the book. But this will also take off color eventually if I'm doing it too much. This will also take off gloss if you're doing it too much on there too. So I just lightly pass. What doesn't come off, maybe I'll use another tool to try to remove, like a polypropylene eraser, just like a regular pencil eraser actually. White eraser though. And I'm doing this in one direction. You don't want to do it in two because sometimes it might catch on something. And that's not good. That's how you tear a book. All right. What this does, though, is it's basically shaving off anything that's sitting at the surface of the book. Not as, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as abrasive as like sandpaper or anything, so you're not going to scratch the book. Well, eventually it will scratch the book, but it works. It works great for dust that's been embedded into the paper fibers for a while. Next, the next strategy. This is also going to polish up the gloss on the cover, as well as pick up anything that was left over that maybe didn't get lifted by the dry cotton round. This is called Absorbine. Some of you may be already familiar with it. It's just judging from the screen names of the people that are in here, some of you already know what Absorbine is. Since this is Sharpie, there's no risk of it coming off, but I'm still going to just lightly go over that area with the signature. And then on the rest, I'm moving one direction only. Again, helping the gloss out, helping get anything off the cover that doesn't need to be there, that wasn't originally intended to be on there. There's a little bit of a chip that's kind of hanging on for dear life there. I'm going to try to keep that there as much as possible. And again, what I do in the front of the book, I got to do in the back, especially because we took that magic eraser to the back. Like I said, it was shaving, so that means that it's going to leave a dust behind. And the best way to pick up that dust is with something that has tackiness. When I was younger and I'd see this advertisement in the back of the book, I never read the advertisements. Now I do. But I never read the advertisements back then. And I used to think like, oh, this must be like a Marvel thing. And that looks like Jim Shooter. Kind of does look like Jim Shooter. Sort of. Also, rest in peace, legend. Okay. Just a handful of times on that. Are you able to take heavy creases out of books? Are we talking comic books or regular books? I'm sorry, it's probably obvious to you. You're probably talking about comics. But I bring up books and manga because I also work on those. And with that cardstock, yes, I can. But with comic books, Those creases, no, those are permanent. What's going on? I hear that. All right. Okay, let's see about getting some of these divots out and make that book nice. We don't want to heat up any of the signature ink. I know this is dyed onto the paper because it's magic. It's Sharpie, but I don't take chances, especially not on on somebody else's book. You know what I mean? So we're going to do that lightly. We're going to avoid the signature with the heat as much as possible. That was a great question about the creasing, by the way. I appreciate you asking it. All right, now this isn't removing everything completely. If I'm just using the heat to take out these ticks, they will revert after a while. Maybe right away, maybe a month or two from now. But they do revert. So this is just getting the tick out before I press it. And the pressing work is what actually seals it in. Not that there isn't any reversion for after pressing in a normal pressing machine, but it's not as prevalent as just, you know, applying heat to something like this. I hope everyone's having a good Wednesday so far. If you can, please share this out to your friends, your family, or neighbors. If you have any books that need cleaning, hit me up. Also restoration work too. So if you've got a spine roll that you want out, color touch, hit me up. You need something trimmed down or something. I mean, I wouldn't recommend submitting that, but not everybody submits their comic books. I don't, for example. All right. And into the next available press this comic goes. Next up, another spectacular Spider-Man signed by Jerry Conway. Issue number 2. All right. My chair is loud. Sorry about that. Since this is another signed book, we got to be very careful with it, especially because it's not like we can get another one of these signed in person anymore. It's kind of morbid. I shouldn't have said that. Here we go. Centerfold there. Sorry, I had to take it off screen I haven't worked on a lot of issue number 2s of this run, so I don't know the centerfold page by heart, but I found it nonetheless. All right, here we go. Little tappity tap on the table just to get that all lined up to the spine. We don't reuse cotton rounds here at Black Market Comics, so I'll grab a fresh one and begin with that. While I'm doing this, though, we can notice any flaws that are on this book. Start calling them out in the chat. Let's see what you see. I see some bends in the spine. Unfortunately, it looks like some of them broke color. I also see creases in the front of the spine. There was something that grabbed here on the cotton. So let's make sure. Sometimes like a fingerprint or a palm print or some kind of foreign material like a clear liquid maybe or something sticks on there. There we go. It's not catching anymore. The most likely culprit there is probably a fingerprint. What we do in the front, we must do in the back of this book. Change the music here. All right, same situation in the back here. This is fairly clean, and I think the most improvement that you're going to see on this issue is from the bends in the spine. Let's see how dirty that was. Not. I don't know if that's coming out on camera, but it was kind of dirty. Let's go ahead and on to the next tool. And here we're using the absorbing putty. I do this about 4 or 5 times in one direction from the spine to the edge. 4 or 5 rotations? Not rotations, that's not the right word. Help me find the word there. 4 or 5 passes, maybe? Yeah, that's a good one. Shout out to the folks that are watching on Instagram and on YouTube. Welcome in. Feel free to ask any questions if you've got in the live chat, if you're on Instagram. Otherwise, drop a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. All right, I didn't count those, but this book is particularly clean. I don't see any dirt or grime that's embedded into the paper fiber, so we don't need to bust out that magic eraser. Don't use tools if you don't need them, right? Each one of the things that I'm using here has some risk associated with it, so why bother taking any kind of risk, as minuscule as it is, if you don't need to? And like I said, the most important thing, the most improvement that's going to be made on this book is going to be done in the pressing machine. Folks, if you need your books cleaned and pressed, you got to protect your comic investments. Hit me up. I do $10 for the type of cleaning that you're seeing right now. And if we need to use any kind of solutions, the price goes up by a few bucks, not much. Also, rush orders are available too. A lot of people take advantage of the rush orders because they need their books back immediately. That's great. All right. I think we're good with that one. I've got 2 copies of that one, so I'll be working on the second one next. That's why you're going to see back-to-back books. They're not the same. I mean, they are the same, but it's not the exact book. This is a different copy. Let's see. This one seems just as clean as the other one was, with less creasing, less bends. This is a beautiful copy of Spectacular Spider-Man issue 2, signed by Jerry Conway, the writer, creator of The Punisher, and what did he? No, that was Howard Mackey, I think. Did Howard the Duck, right? Go with the centerfold, and next I'll be working on, let's get that over there, the back cover. Tippity tap on the desk, get everything lined up. Here we go. We don't reuse the pads. Grab a new one, grab a fresh cotton round, and let's get to work on this one. It's feeling pretty smooth here. I don't feel any indentions or stickiness. That was weird. Yeah, I'm feeling some texture on the signature. Let's not mess with that, though. I don't think it's dirt or anything. I think it's actually the ink from the Sharpie. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat if you're on Instagram. That way I know that my voice is coming through loud and clear, maybe the picture as well. All right, not too much needed on that one. This one's a pretty clean copy. Let's go ahead and just roll over some absorbing. Absorbing. I need it as in, K-N-E-A-D, not N-E-E-D. Besides signed books, I also work on Mark Jewelers, on foil covers, metal covers, anything really. Lakeside Tattoo issues. I can work on any of those inserts. Some of these comics in the 90s all had, like the mid 90s, all had a postcards in them, or an entire pack of cards in some cases. There's some X-Men books that I just did that had those, and my God, those are a headache to do. Because you have to protect the inserts, you know, and then you have to make sure the insert doesn't impress into the pages that surround it when you throw it in the press. It's just a long process. It's a longer process, but it does enhance the value of the book. That work does pay for itself in value. Okay. Oh, just we have a little bit of a divot on this one. I'm not sure if it's showing up on camera. And that's a problem we're going to run into here with a lot of these books, is that some of the flaws that I'm correcting aren't really visible unless you're like inches away from the page. Some of them you can only see with your own eyes, and you won't be able to tell on camera, on the live. All right. However, we are done with that. We're moving on to the next issue, number 3. There, I've got 2 copies of these that I'm going to be doing. Both of them are signed by Jerry Conway. All right. How's it going, everybody? Well, thank you for stopping by here. Continue to stick around because I've got tons more books to go, including some big, heavy Silver Age grails coming right up. Actually, I've got a couple more ahead of it. So, like I said, stick around, folks. You're not going to want to miss that. If you've got any kind of tips, or if you have any questions, hit me up. Let me know. Drop a comment if you're watching this live on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment there too. Now there is some foxing on this one, but I cannot use any kind of chemical peroxides on this to remove that like I normally would because of the signature. But we'll work all around all that. Yeah, especially in the back here, we've got a lot of foxing, but I could, you know what? I'll peroxide this one. I'll use it as an example. All right, a little bit of buffering there. The thing about foxing is that it's a stain. It's not a foreign substance on the comic book, so I can't, you know, like elbow grease it out, but I can peroxide it with, I can, you know, bleach it down. They won't completely be removed, but at least they won't be as visible, and it just overall makes the comic present a little bit better, especially when it gets slabbed. Today is comic book day, huh? Let me know what you picked up today and how the modern comics that you picked up are in condition. Are you finding that your LCS has a lot of new books that are coming in damaged, like that recent Absolute Batman 20 cover A? Or are they coming in pretty fine, near mint or near mint plus condition, ready to go to CGC? All right, that's enough of that. Now, if I'm going to use a solution on any of these comic books, it's always going to be the last thing I'm going to do to it, because wet paper is weak paper, which means once I wet this, there's nothing else I can do, or else I run the risk of tearing the page or removing color, things like that. Okay. This one around the corner box up here has a bend. Sometimes all we need to do to fix a bend is just wave my magic heat wand around it. If that doesn't work, the press sure will. The act of pressing it. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use a peroxide solution for this one. There are other solutions available commercially to do this kind of stuff, but I make my own here because it's a very mild peroxide. You don't want anything that's going to lift. You see how there's no color on this, even though it is peroxide? You don't want to lift color. It will easily lift color if you're using too strong of a solution. Oh, also it may spot. So as soon as it sits there for a little bit, gets absorbed by the page, I go back over and pick up any of the excess that didn't get absorbed by the paper. Now here you see there's a little bit of, like, there's no color here except for what's on the fonts. But that's red. If this was lifting red, you would see red on this. What you're seeing on the cotton round right now is the color of that foxing. Okay, you'll see I'm not scrubbing, I'm applying, and then I let it sit. You can see it's going through the page because as this paper is picking up the moisture that I'm leaving behind, it is curling. Don't worry, all of that gets corrected in the press. Let's go ahead and make sure that there was no streaks left behind. And we're good to go. Let's go ahead and let that sit. Eventually it will go into the next available press. Here's another copy. We do not reuse, so throw that away, and then let's get some more stuffing. This is a cardstock. Different weights of cardstock. I use particular ones so that, in my experience, they don't stretch the spine. That's a real risk. What happens when you stretch the spine in the press is that the interior drops and then those staple holes get enlarged. All that is damage and does get counted off. Not discount. It gets it drops the grade. That's what I'm trying to say. Drops the grade. Rob, how you doing, man? Welcome in. My man. Okay. A little tapperoonie on that. This one's not as bad as far as the foxing goes. I don't see any kind of stains either. So we won't be using any kind of solution. This one does have an extended staple that's going past the spine, though. And that could easily catch on the cotton. And that's how I noticed it. It got caught in the cotton before I caught myself before yanking it. And so nothing happened to the staple. But that's a real risk as well. So watch out for that. Polish up the signature. Now let's go ahead and work on the back of the book. We're looking for foxing again. I see a little bit of staining here and there. Not foxing though. Lots of stains. So yeah, we might peroxide the back of this book here. This solution that I'm using, some of the solutions that are available commercially will get flagged by a grader. But this particular one I've been using for about 5 years now. And so that's not an issue. You know what? Let's use malamine. Okay. Comic Grails, what's up? How you doing? Welcome in. Folks, if you can hear me, let me know in the chat so I know I'm not talking to myself. If not, I'll just put on some background music or something. I don't know. I've got some background music on right now. All right, 3, 4, and the last run, the 5th one. Okay. Nice. All right, let's start the back. I mean the front. Audio is good. Awesome. Thank you very much. Do you clean and press your own books, Rob? Like, you have experience in this? It's a good skill. I mean, if you're a collector that's going to be flipping, or hell, if you're a collector that's going to be submitting, it's a good skill to learn. And it's not that hard to do. It's not that much of an investment either. This thing costs probably like a tub of it for like $20, a little less than 20. The cotton rounds I pick up at my local department store here. There we go. All right, next is taking care of the bend that I see right here on the first staple. Now, I've always been one to move the heat around, not keep it on in place for more than a second. But I've seen this guy the other day who was using a big tacking iron, and all he did was just press it onto the book and didn't move it like that. And then, like, he wasn't getting color rub or anything. It was coming out great. So I guess everybody has their own techniques. I don't like that technique because sometimes it will lift color if you have too hot of a tool on one particular spot in the book. These inks are alcohol based, which means that once they get heated up, they start raising pretty quickly. All right, we are again using some peroxide on this. Ooh, drop. But on the back. For whitening, do you use a peroxide solution or a blue light? Just a solution? I just use the solution. What I've found is with the blue light, it's too impactful. So what I mean by that is that it works too well and you end up with these super bright covers and the interior ends up looking like, wait, hold on, I'll show you right now. Like that. There's tanning on that, you know? It's just like there's stains, a little bit of tanning on this, on the back cover there. And that's a huge red flag for CGC, and since my personal collection is tiny, it's minuscule since I've been selling. I don't want to get flagged. I don't want a purple label. Purple labels don't sell. Some people are okay with that, and you know they're a rare minority. There we go. Good for you, you know, if you're into that. I can't. I'm into things that I can move very quickly, some things that are popular and stuff like that. So I don't use blue LEDs. I use a peroxide solution that I make myself. Here's a grill. Gotta be very careful with this one. That's a great question, though. Thank you very much. Difference between large and small tacking irons, the size, the temperatures that they get to as well. The way that they heat up in the interiors. Like there's a lot of different depending on the brands that you're using and all that kind of stuff. I use a little crafting iron. I think it's only called an iron. The tacking iron is specific. But it's for me it's too big. I can get into fine creases with things like this that are tiny, where a tacking iron, which is probably as big as like this camera head, that's too big. You can't do any fine work on it at all. Well, another great question, though. Thank you very much for asking it. All right, brittle, a little bit of brittleness on there, but as you can see, I lined up with the spine, and you can't see the white cardstock underneath. So no micro tears or anything like that. The back is a different story, though. Take a look at that. There's one. Well, they all can't be perfect. Especially not a book from what year was this? 68? Oh, hit the mic. All right, this one does feel dirty, just using my bare hand on it. Gamma rays, what's up? All right, don't press too hard though. You don't want to move this cover around while it's still attached at the staples, especially on a book this old. But I don't know if you can hear this. I might be talking too loud, but you hear that there's a different sound, and as I pick this up, you see that yellowy. That's the dust that's on this. It could sometimes when you pick it up, it's dark. It's darker. Sometimes it can be black even. And I found that happens when the book has been next to an ashtray at some point in its life. I mean, especially a book this old. Everybody in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, maybe even the 90s, were smoking all over the place. So you ash, that stuff, that fine stuff will fly around the room. Also, you'll smell it in this book. This book smells like paper, like paper wood from this age. But if you smell the smoke on there, more than likely it's going to be dirty and it's going to lift up ash from the cover. Now this I can see, and I'm not sure the camera's picking up, but I can visibly see the gloss getting brighter. Again, you'll notice I'm not moving this comic around, I'm not putting too much effort or my weight behind scrubbing on this thing. All we're doing is doing a light pass. And then, see that one left a little bit of brown on there. Now I'm going to be very careful with how brittle this book is with the putty. It does need the putty though. If you smell all the smells, especially when the steam hits it, it releases all the dirty secrets. Yeah, totally, dude. Totally. Dirty secrets. That's so true though. might be a little, it was sticking too much to the page. So let's not do that. Okay. You know what? I don't even want to peroxide that. The paper in the inside is the same color. Let's go ahead and just apply heat to take out some of the, you know, the bigger, deeper divots and dents. There's a lot of veining on this too, and that veining is creasing in some of the areas. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. If you know a technique though, let me know. I'll study it. But all right, you can only do so much by hand. We got to let the machine take over. All right, let's lay that down gently on the next. All right, next up is the moderns. I think I got a few moderns here we're going to be working on. The first is this black hat. Number 7. We're going to use some of the tools, not all of the tools that I normally would with a modern book. I'm sorry, with a you know, copper, silver, golden age book. That and that the paper you're hearing is me flipping through what I use for stuffing. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I don't use all the tools, like the absorbing. You don't want to use absorbing on modern books, mainly because it doesn't need it. Remember that point I said earlier? If it doesn't need it, don't worry about it. We don't use every tool because sometimes the tool will do more damage than you're trying to correct. All right, tippity tap. Grab a clean cloth, a cotton round. Now what I'm doing here is buffing and feeling the book to make sure that there's nothing inside that's going to punch through when I put it in the press. Glossing, you know, shining up the gloss too. Now, because this is a fine cotton, it's not scratching. I found though, if you don't use a high quality cotton round, then you end up with cotton fibers staying on the book, and when you heat those and press them, they embed into the cover, and that's not good. That's not good. Yeah, Momoko cover. Yeah. So don't skimp on your tools here, or else you will regret it. I've regretted a lot. That's trust me, I tell you that story on experience, based on experience. All right, we do have a little bit of a divot right here. Let me see what I can do with just the parchment paper and a magic wand. All right, good to go on that area. What's up, Power Grayskull? How you doing? Now that one, I don't need to use the absorbing because it's a recent book. There's no reason to. I didn't use any kind of solutions on it because there's no staining. I didn't use the absorbing putty because that putty will stay behind. On modern books, they're all got a waxy coating, right? Especially on the cardstock covers, you get waxy coatings, and I found that the absorbing sticks to that and like stays behind. So not good. Good. And in this case, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to support the spine with a thinner cardstock. This is, I think it's like 25-pound cardstock, and I use 2 sheets right there to support the front cover. Do the same for the back cover, and in the interior, I still use the thicker magazine board. God damn, this is such a great book. Oh, sorry. I cussed. Told myself I wasn't going to do that. All right. Such a cool issue here, but there is some warping to it. The whole book, as you can see, is kind of warping this way towards us, towards the camera. That'll get corrected very quickly. There's some spine ticks on there too, and some dust that's on this cover. I know it's dust because looking at this, there's no like, on the white areas, there's no discolorations at all. It looks white. Sorry, excuse me. It looks white. But when I pick up the cotton round, you'll see like a dark residue being left behind. It's not like a dramatically dark. But that's what I was talking about with the problem sometimes is the ashtrays. You know, ash, that especially a fine ash, will fly around the room. Especially if you've got the ashtray next to a stack of books you were reading or something that you just picked up the newsstand in the 70s. Now this one, we are going to use a little bit more tools. We finished with that cotton round. Don't reuse them. Throw it away. Use a new one. Let's see here. I'm going to take the cardstock. Move it a little bit away from the spine while I work on it. And there we go. Now you'll see I'm not putting my weight on this, so it's just a light scrub. Enough to take off the dirt that's sitting on the surface of this book, but not take off any gloss. Right, we are set on that. Set the melamine aside. Melamine. All right, and back to the absorbing putty. This is not a modern book, so we don't have to worry about residue being left behind. Well, you always have to worry about it, right? But it's not going to stick to this kind of cover because it's just a regular paper. You know, the newsprint that they used on these covers. Flexible, pliable, very easy to clean. Here's pass number 3 now. 1975. Wow. Pass number 4. And one more. Look, even in the mid-70s, if a book needed more attention because it's like a #1 issue, for example, put Spider-Man on the cover, people will pick it up. And that's true to this day. Okay. Now the heating wand. Perfect. We had some divots in the cover here, and they look like they are slowly disappearing with the heat. Looks so awesome there. All right. Now, like I said, the press is going to take care of how the book is a little warped, but I think it's going to look fantastic. All right. This next book is another signed book. I rarely get to do my own books. I found this in a collection that I bought. Signed by Jim Lee and Scott Williams. But the board itself, like it, you know how like when I'm going to use a thinner one. You know how like when you're putting stuff in your comic boxes, and sometimes one gets caught underneath the comic that's in front of it or behind it. I'm sorry, and then you end up with it bending. That looks like what had happened here. It bent a little bit. So we're going to correct that real quick in the press. It's not going to be pressed as long as I normally would, but you know what? I might cold press this. It'll probably turn out better. I cold press it. Yeah, let's do that. You guys know what cold pressing is, right? Everybody's familiar with the term. All right, and I did that. And not let me know. There's no such thing as a dumb question at all. And why are we here if we can't answer questions and we can't talk? We can't have a conversation. Dan, how you doing? Welcome in. So both of these signatures, the Jim Lee right there, the Scott Williams right there on the logo, are look to be Sharpie, not acrylic marker, which is horrible. That's a horrible idea. Like, come on, Jim Lee. Like, you telling me that you only brought a Sharpie to wherever signing this happened at, and then you see a black cover and you want to use that Sharpie on it? Do better, bro. Do better. Use a green acrylic or something. Hell, they make multicolored Sharpies too if you don't like acrylic markers for your signatures. Well, this book, like I said, I found it in a collection. I don't rarely keep anything for myself or really buy anything. So this book will be for sale. If anybody wants to throw out an offer, I haven't priced it or anything, but man, I don't care. This was an unexpected surprise. And I'd like to pay it forward. Maybe I might use this as a giveaway if nobody's interested in it. I might use it as a giveaway. You take your own markers? Okay, that's a good idea. That's a great idea, man. Cool. Yeah, that way you pick the color. You don't have to worry about, well, do you have yellow? You guys want to grade this book together? Let me know. I'll point out the flaws if you guys want to grade it together and talk about grading. While I wait for a response, because I know there's about a 20-30 second lag, I will count out the spine ticks. There are a few spine ticks on here. Let's get close up. Okay, so it looks like there's one right there. These are hairline. I'm not sure they're coming up. They might not even be coming up on camera. This one might, because it's darker at the top. The gradient is darker. So that line right there is a crease. Crease that broke color, crease that broke color. That's a crease too. Tiny, tiny little crease. Otherwise, the rest of this book is great. Let's take a look at the back here. The back has a crease right about there. Also little micro creases here and there. So overall, the only problem with this book are those creases. have to sign off. Thanks for the hey, no problem, Rob. Thank you for being here and thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. Okay, so let's count the creases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3 on the back. That's 7, 8. I had to use my fingers on that one. 8 flaws. Usually about anything over than 4, I consider less than near mint when they're this size. You know, a near mint is what, a range. So I'm thinking overall probably about 8.5, 8.0, somewhere around there. We'll make sure this gets pressed though, so it gets the highest grade possible. And folks, that's it for now. I will be back at this later this week. I have tons of books to get through and not much. I haven't done any cleaning sessions really. But if you need your books cleaned and pressed, let me know. I've got the up there, the banner. The prices, dry cleaning is $10. Anything other than that, 15. Restoration services are available. Those are going to be as requested. I want to thank you all for being here. I really appreciate your attention on this and your participation. It really does mean a lot to me. I will be back on tonight with Zach from Zach's Comics, selling you some of these books. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one.